All right, you are good to go.
What up, y'all? This is Jermon Booz. Welcome to a very, very special episode of the How About Guys. This is episode 10. Bang, bang. A big episode for us. A big episode for us. As usual, you got me, Jermon Booz. You have Asabe, the scholar, the plant guide, all that good stuff. And then you have
Wait.
That's
all. The plant guy, bro. You are lazy, bro.
All right. Go ahead and get it, pop it off.
The proton prince. Huh? What? The electric. I don't know, bro. I'm not good with that part. You supposed to be good with that part. And then I just come in.
I was thinking 3/4 of the episode, you come in and you give the rest of his title that you want to make up as well. 3/4.
I'm gonna have to write them out next time. I'm gonna write them out.
That was pretty terrible. And then you have the gray hair to kill talent. Yeah. And you know how like they say gray hair represents wisdom? Not
it's like the opposite.
Hey, y'all, so I got to be honest, man. I am extremely excited to introduce our special guest for today. I am jealous of his hair. I am not jealous of his height. This is my brother for a long time, and I'm gonna tell a quick story. This is how I think about Antonio. Me and Antonio were at Barack Obama's inauguration in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I put him on my shoulders. It's literally happened. I put him on my shoulders above the crowd. But
that's love.
That's my brother.
Yeah, that's love, man.
Yeah.
I respect and love this man. It's an understatement to be real, man. He is one of the most proactive, grassroots, family-oriented, Detroit representing, women-loving, community-oriented. I can't say enough good things about him, though, because he is, a lot of people try to be all his life. He's genuine, he's down to earth. He's always showed love to everybody around. This is my guy, Antonio Raphael of Southwest Detroit, on Instagram known as Southwest Jesus, in the building with the High Vibe guys today, man.
Welcome.
Peace. How y'all doing?
All is well. What's up, bro?
Not too much. I slept in today. Like, it was really nice.
You got 8 hours?
Yeah, I think I did.
Excellent. You look charged up. Look like you're shining over there.
Yeah, I got the light game going over here.
Real quick, our female audience just jumped by like 5,000% with this dude and us on here. Y'all make me sick, bro. I'm about to start wearing a wig on this podcast, bro.
Yeah,
right.
Picture of when I had hair.
Even when you had hair, wasn't that nice, bro?
It wasn't.
It looked like this. Look at these two guys' hair, man. This is filthy.
Like we're shooting for like advertisements, and so now like Valdell Sassoon, like what's up?
For real, bro.
Anybody out there who wants to like do some type of hair advertisement, don't look at me or Lakil though to be those representatives.
Man.
So Big Antonio, we start off each show by talking about something that's going on inside the news, man. That's kind of like, just an intro, and then we gotta go from there. You are big on politics. You're big on everything: the environment, politics, community, maple syrup.
Check my Wi-Fi.
Chickens. Antonio at one point had a bee farm in his house, but you're big on everything. Why don't you give us your view or your take on Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race, and what does that mean for the Democratic Party as far as our options and what?
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
I mean, I guess personally, I would like to see Bernie run third party and like whoop Trump and Biden, because like, Trump and Biden, there's a definite difference between the two of them. Like, Biden is not going to give you a terrible person for the Supreme Court. That's like the number one argument that like liberals have for supporting Biden. So like, there's a point there, and Biden is a piece of shit, dog. Like, so he's from Connecticut, right? Connecticut, I want to say. I want to double check. Let me fact check that real quick.
Dave, you know where Biden's from?
Did you say Akil?
No, I said Dave. Dave knows.
I was about to say, yeah. You saw the fear in my eyes, like, oh no, bro, don't call on me.
Dave, are you pooping, man? When you at Dave, we need you. Dave is our random fact checker, man. He knows everything.
Okay, so he's born in Pennsylvania. Let's see.
Dave making a drink, bro.
No, he's got elected in Delaware. Anyways, wherever he was elected from, that's basically where all the credit card companies are. So like in the 90s and 80s when they were doing like all sorts of like reform to protect consumers.
Sorry, I'm still working on this stupid Facebook issue. Yes, he is holed up in Connecticut. That is his home state.
Yeah. So like he represents like, so where he comes from, the credit card companies are super powerful and super strong. He basically worked for them for, you know how his son, Biden's son, got in trouble because he was working for an oil company while Biden was helping overthrow the Ukrainian government. Like, his son was working for the credit card companies the same time Biden was passing legislation to fuck up consumers and to support the credit card companies. So like Biden is just like, he's a historic, perpetual, perennial piece of shit. He like, during the big on tough on crime era when the Democrats had this quote unquote Southern strategy that saw Bill Clinton beating up Jesse Jackson, that saw like Biden was a part of that era too. He helped write a lot of this like tough on crime legislation. He helped pass like welfare reform. He helped write legislation that like ensured that students would have their debt forever, that students couldn't like declare bankruptcy and drop their debt. Let's see what else Biden did. He beat up Anita Hill. She's the original Me Too black woman. She interned for Clarence Thomas, the first black Supreme Court justice, and he was a sexual harasser, piece of shit. Like Biden beat up on her verbally. I mean, like, you can't take one issue and find out like where Biden hasn't had like a terrible ass record on that issue. What's crazy to me is like literally Trump is going to be taking he's going to be fighting Democrats with a more democratic message on trade and a more democratic message on criminal justice reform in this election. Trump is going to be hitting us from the left on these issues because Biden is such a piece of shit. I hope is that like Democrats replace Biden at the convention because Biden can't talk for more than 2 minutes without like getting all geriatric and like like he's got dementia. He's got dementia. Like there's no doubt about it. I mean, you watch this dude on TV, like it's bad. It's really bad, and that's why they've been hiding his ass. And like the media has been trying to uplift Newsom, and they've been trying to uplift Cuomo because they're looking for a neoliberal alternative for Biden. Because Biden is not mentally competent enough. We're talking about like Ronald Reagan in his second term, sort of demented. You know what I'm saying? Like just not there mentally.
Do you think that's why?
That's at the best hope. Our best chances are the Democrats replacing Biden by themselves. But if we're counting on the Democrats to do the right thing, it's not like a good look either. And I've been like a lifelong. I don't say that from a like my I come from a union family. My dad was heavily involved in union stuff. I voted that most of my life, but I also recognize that the Democrats been stomping out progressives my entire life as well. So it's like, yeah, I'm really upset. I'm really not confident in Biden. I'm convinced that the Democrats want to lose to Trump. If you want to lose to Trump, Biden is the candidate you put up because he has zero, like his chances of defeating Trump are so minuscule compared to Bernie Sanders. And finally, anybody who will try and tell you that the Democrats or that it was a Democratic election and the people chose Bernie. Fuck no, the people didn't choose Bernie. The Democrats chose Bernie. The people who are registered Democrats. In some of the primary elections, they were open and anybody could vote. But in most of the primary elections, it was only Democrats doing the voting. And that's different than what's going to happen in the general election. In the general election, it's a different story. Sorry, I'm messing with my light. But yeah, those are some initial thoughts. I definitely am open to not doing a monologue.
Well, you already did. Too late, brother. Do you feel as if that's why Biden is bringing up the conversation about possibly moving out of having a Democratic convention this year?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely think they intentionally went for Wisconsin because they know Bernie has a conscience and Bernie feels terrible for them having to do a primary if they have to vote during the pandemic. You know, that's crazy. That's the main reason Bernie tapped out, because he's like, man, I can't be part of forcing this conversation forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in terms of the convention, I don't know. Like I haven't studied or looked into these Democratic machinations. I imagine canceling the convention would probably help him, but I really hope the Democratic Party wakes up and realizes that they're running a shitty candidate.
I gotta be honest, bro. Like, I love you. I love the people who wanted anybody but Biden to win. I love, I support everybody who really wants to change how the Democratic Party operates. But I told people a couple times over that Biden was gonna get the fucking nod. Right?
Yeah.
Like he has the fucking Obama effect for him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He went down south. I knew the shit was gonna pop off. Like it's hard to people aren't really into the politics of politics. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like we still Trump wouldn't be in the office if that was the case. All right, so what you putting up? But Trump wouldn't be in the office.
Oil of oregano.
Oil of oregano. Yeah, I need something. I'm extra snotty over here right now.
Spicy.
Yeah. So outside of that, Biden, of course, we got the big topic. I want to know what your thoughts are as far as this virus goes, man. How it's impacting your community. I know that you're really supplies. I saw you out doing diapers yesterday, or distributing diapers to different households yesterday, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on what's going on and how it's impacting Detroit. Me and you had a little back and forth yesterday about the impacts as far as implementing green light to oversee the community. And for those of you who aren't familiar, green light, I'm actually pretty familiar with it because at one point in time we were going to implement it at our store. So green light is a program where basically you get a green light in front of your building in Detroit for your business, right? And you basically sign up with Comcast. Comcast puts in these cameras. And if you go to liquor stores, you go to my neighborhood, Antonio's neighborhood, you'll see green lights in front of the building, which means that they partake in a program where the police have direct access to the cameras. So let's say that something takes place at your business, the police can literally tap into your cameras and respond immediately if you put in a phone call. And me and Antonio had a brief back and forth yesterday about it because they're talking about using Project Greenlight to monitor different areas where people are coming together and grouping together. Antonio felt a certain type of way about it. I feel another type of way about it at the moment. I think that it's actually not the worst idea. I do get being monitored by the police or by our government is a scary idea. But I also was riding down Jefferson yesterday and saw 35 bikers at 7-Eleven blaring music and having a get together. So what are some of your thoughts on what's going on as far as this virus and how it's impacting the city, bro?
Yeah, I would urge everybody who listens to this podcast to follow Green Light Black Futures. It's a page on Instagram. It's run by a lot of people who are kind of part of BYP 100 and some people who left BYP 100. It's a really awesome community organization, Black youth led, super dope. But before we talk about Corona, let's just talk about Project Greenlight since you brought it up.
Yes, sir.
So essentially, it's like mass surveillance being put into your community. It's like, and one thing that we have to recognize about Detroit is Detroit is the blackest major city in the entire country. It is, according to the 2010 census, 700,000 black people, mostly black people, 80% black. Like I said, black majors. There's some cities, not cities. There's some towns that are actually blacker than Detroit, but it's the blackest major city. The average income of the entire city of Detroit is $26,000 a year. The average income of Oakland County, just to the north of Detroit, is $70,000 a year.
How much you cut out?
$70,000 to $80,000 a year.
Wow.
It's 3 times the average income of the city of Detroit. There are communities in Oakland County, such as the southern part of Bloomfield Hills, where the average income is $386,000 a year. Okay?
Yep.
So you have to understand, like, Detroit in the context of a geography that is extremely racially and class segregated, to the point that they've concentrated poverty into the Detroit areas, and particularly into the communities where there are less services, more liquor stores, more bullshit. So, like, I'll also very briefly add on to this broader context of where Detroit is at. It's 2020. We are 12 years after the 2008 financial crisis, in which in that time, since 2010 or so, in the last 10 years, around 180 to 200,000 Detroiters have lost their homes because of tax foreclosures and repossessions of homes. On top of that, you add the fact that about 120,000 people have had their water shut off in the last 3 to 5 years. On top of that, we had a Detroit public school system that had around 200,000 students. Today it has 40,000 students. They passed legislation so that every kid is worth $7,000. So the suburbs have opened up, and now they're accepting our students and our tax dollars. So these suburbs are predators. They're parasites. They live off of Detroit. So additional context, Detroit has been led by a black mayor, black leadership for a long time. That's also part of why they have not worked with Detroit governments to deal with the structural nature of Detroit's debt. And
going a long way around to get the Project Greenlight.
All that is to say,
no, he not. Shut up, Booze.
All that is to say is, like, since the 2008 crisis, the suburbs injected their candidate, Mayor White Duggan, and he became the mayor of Detroit, and he's been working for the companies that Detroit. So, like, Dan Gilbert, who is like the biggest, richest capitalist, he's like our Mr. George Burns from Simpsons. He owns like all of downtown, runs Detroit, runs the sports teams. Basically, Duggan works for the suburbs and works for the rich people who own most of the city. And it's his administration that like helped choose the emergency manager. Literally, 50% of Michigan's population lost democracy after the 2008 financial crisis because of these same structural segregation issues all around the state, in which the state government and the local capitalists are stealing resources from the people. So given the context of Detroit being occupied by the white suburbs and taken over,
I see where you're going. I see where you're going now.
Project Greenlight is representation of this. Okay, on top of that, I have a pamphlet for this shit somewhere, but there's a program called Detroit One. Detroit One is a combination of the federal government, ATF, DEA, FBI, state police, county police, local sheriffs, and all of their prosecutors fast-forwarding warrants. It's called the Violent Crime Initiative, is what they call it. But they're basically sweeping out Detroit of anybody who's got a warrant. In Detroit, a very impoverished city, as we discussed. The average income is $26,000 a year. For me, my car insurance is $3,400 a year. So like 30% of Detroiters have warrants right now. 20% of Detroiters have warrants for petty.
Your car insurance is off for a reason.
for petty ass, little ass crimes, right?
Yeah.
For like not showing up to court, for not paying tickets, for driving through the suburbs. We have like 4 Ferguson-like type white suburban communities who prey on black people driving through to pay for their police departments. These motherfuckers are structurally broke right now because they're too scared to come talk to us at their windows right now. I'm loving this, like, no cops having the nuts to harass anybody moment right now because I ain't been pulled over in a couple weeks. It's been nice. I feel safe driving to the forests around Detroit. But all that to say is Detroit's being occupied, and then to bring in mega security surveillance apparatus. And I'll add one more fact on top of this. On top of the Detroit one, which is fast-forwarding warrants and putting black and brown people in jail. I'll put 2 more. Michigan's entire economy has been propped up on marijuana since 2012 when we made weed legal. Huge. Everybody's dope boys. Everybody's selling weed. Everybody's growing weed. And Detroit just did a huge sweep and raided 150 pot growers and pot shops throughout the city. So they're cracking down on black entrepreneurship. They're cracking down on black homeownership. They're cracking down on black public schools. They're cracking down on all of the things that make Detroit the majority black powerful city that it is. And one more policy that I also said is, so there's the Detroit. So basically, okay, the surveillance. So basically, like, these Detroit One cameras and the many thousands of other cameras, many of which were put up by Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert was straight up putting cameras wherever he wanted downtown on buildings he didn't even own. And Dan Gilbert set up a security infrastructure so that all of the camera feeds come to one center that Dan Gilbert runs. I mean, Dan Gilbert is like, I'm working on a comic book. I'm going to let this out. I shouldn't. I'm working on a comic book where Dan Gilbert is Batman. As like the white savior of Detroit. And because like Batman's evil. Batman is truly evil. If you watch all the comic books and the cartoons, Batman owned the electrical infrastructure. He owned the sewer system. He owned the trains. I mean, what the fuck kind of shit is that? Like preparing you for monopoly ownership by one person is crazy.
I'm just going to jump in and say, I want to give the alternative perspective because
go ahead.
With Project Greenlight, man, the small business owner has to choose to have that. Right? So it's not like
they have to pay. They have to pay.
You have to pay for it. And you also have to choose to be a part of the program, right? And I would say the majority, so I live over here, but living north of 7 Mile, known as the Fashion Avenue, home at one point in time of the largest black-owned businesses inside the city, right? And I would say 90% of the businesses over here have green lights in front of them, man. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but the system doesn't work unless the small businesses decide to become a part of it. And that has nothing to do with all those other elements that you're kind of speaking to right now, right? So that's my personal, like, if we're choosing to have it, then it's a reason. And I get it. It's a lot of things that have happened inside the city over the past 50 years that have put the citizens in a position to feel like.
But who's choosing to have it, Booze? Who's choosing to have it? Who owns the liquor stores?
It's not just liquor stores, man. That's
Chaldeans.
It's definitely not
Arabs.
You're right, Middle Easterners. But it's not just liquor stores. I would say that 75% of the businesses in this area have green lights in front of them. Unless it's like a fucking Meijer or some shit like that, where they already have police or something like that in front of the building.
So there's been hella examples already. There's newspaper articles about this, but like Project Greenlight is not gonna save any of you business people. It's not coming to save you. But what it is gonna do is get whoever was fucking around in front of your place in trouble later. That's what it's gonna do.
I think sometimes, man, business.
There's nobody sitting there. So there's thousands of cameras all over the city. You think there's like a bunch of people monitoring them, and anytime like somebody gets stuck up, they're gonna show up in 10 seconds because they magically are saved by Project Greenlight? Fuck out of here. Exactly not a chance.
The way it works is when you call the police, they have a way to automatically tap into your camera. So they can start using that as surveillance in that moment.
No, they're all tapped in. And they will jump into your camera and look after you. But it's not going to protect anybody. It's not going to save anybody. What it's going to do is get people in trouble afterwards for the crimes they commit. It's going to hold people accountable. It's going to push people into the mass incarceration system. In a city that again has the average income of $26,000, motherfuckers be robbing people sometimes. I don't defend that. I don't think that's good. I've almost been robbed before. Like, it's really about how you carry yourself. Like, I feel safe anywhere in Detroit. I could walk around anywhere in Detroit. I'm not gonna dress to my nines, walk around some neighborhoods, but I feel safe in Detroit. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't feel safe in Detroit? All the new white people moving in. Where are all these cameras being located? Mostly around some of these white gentrifying areas. This like make white people feel safe and secure in New Detroit under a takeover Duggan administration, and it's total bullshit.
This is an opinion. I feel like you see more green lights in communities outside of Midtown and downtown than you see downtown and Midtown.
This because downtown and Midtown got all the Dan Gilbert cameras protecting their asses.
I know, so
there's like 1,000 cops, and there's Wayne State cops downtown too.
But you see the green lights in the communities where the people are.
Yeah, people have been fooled into thinking that green light is going to save them. It's not.
I don't think it's going to save them, but I do think if you've been robbed or if you had issues with crime, that you want to have additional layers of protection. You know what I mean? What makes me feel safe, to be honest, everybody listening, don't judge me, is my fucking gun. You know what I mean? Like, I feel protected at home because I know that I'm safe and I know that I can protect everybody if need be. And I agree with you, like you said before. For the most part, in Detroit, I've lived here 10 years plus now. I lived in Michigan 20 years. I feel safe in Detroit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't walk out of my house or go anywhere and feel like, oh, you know what? I need to be armed right now, because it's not like that. If you know how to carry yourself and you know where you're going and you know where you're supposed to be, for the most part, you don't have any issues inside the city. Actually, to be honest, I've never had any issues inside the city my entire time here.
Yeah. You just can't walk like a victim. That's the number one thing in Detroit. You can't look and walk like a victim. White people be walking around like clueless, like just like pleasantly walking like, it's safe, it's fine. If you have like an attitude of somebody who's easily victimizable, you might get robbed.
Yeah, and I was saying,
at Eastern Booze, there was a boy at Eastern, this is a white boy, I think he was like homeschooled or something like that. This fool got like 3 times in Ypsilanti. He looked like a victim. He just looked like he had a sign on his back that said, rob me. Like, I'm not gonna do shit. No, I like Booze. I like empathize with store owners and people who like, you know, are out here like in dangerous economic times with like massive inequality. Like the bigger picture is structural poverty. You know, that's really what like all of this amounts to, is like, we talk about how to deal with poverty. And right now, how we're dealing with poverty is evicting people, closing down public resources, taking away things that help poor people, and pushing them out of the city, pushing them out of the areas that they can't afford, raising rents in the gentrifying neighborhoods, the only sustainable, viable neighborhoods, quote unquote, and then pushing them into precarious communities and situations and stories. So we need a whole system workaround. You're not gonna like, I can't expect Duggan or anybody who's running this Project Greenlight to like have a functional way to deal with mass incarceration.
Now, and I would agree with you and say that Project Greenlight is dealing with the symptoms of a structure that's been broken. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not
in a punitive way that pushes for surveillance and mass incarceration. You got to add that on there.
And I would also say too that I feel like a lot of the people who are adding the green lights to the business don't have the best interest of the community at all anyway. Now that would be the real fuck shit. We had a whole episode where I talk about liquor stores and corner stores too. You know I hate the motherfuckers. So
yeah,
how they attack the community, because they're not here to serve the purpose other than make money.
You know, I went to Switzerland for some real white shit to say. I went to Switzerland one time and I did some graffiti. It got really kind of popular, the graffiti I did. I was invited to speak at this artist gallery there. And like, they have vending machines all over the city that like essentially replace like liquor stores. Like, they sell like a beer, they sell like condoms, they sell like shaving. It's just like, it's crazy. Their society's better structured. Like, we don't need like 1,000 candy varieties, like too much, all this sugar bullshit. Like, that, our shit's ass backwards with the way the government funds, supports sugar, supports big corporations, supports the like 10 major fucking food companies that supply all the processed bullshit that's in our stores.
Oh, yeah, that's on purpose.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah, that's on purpose. Hey, Booge, you just look like a black ass blob on your like you can't see no facial features.
Yeah, he got the light
like
behind him.
Silhouette.
Hey man, it's on purpose. I want to look like a fucking villain or some shit.
That shit look crazy as hell, bro.
We need like that quote from Josie Wales. It's good to have the sun at your back.
All right, so green light. Something we kind of talked about as far, and we brought up green light because they're talking about using Project Green Light to monitor different situations at different liquor stores and things of that nature as far as crowding goes.
Basically, like they're using green light to monitor where black people are accumulating so they can bust them up and not allow people to like hang out in public, which to me is some Orwellian.
Would you disagree that people need to stop hanging out for just a little bit?
Yo, definitely. At the moment right now, given what we know, yes. Given what we're aware of and given like the science of things, yes. We need to research more and figure this shit out more. But Detroit, really the problem in Detroit is, again, like it's a much bigger issue than like not congregating is taking care of shit on the end, because Detroit has what you call a lot of comorbidities. Comorbidities are other things that kill you. So like we got a lot of asthma, we got a lot of diabetes, we got a lot of hypertension, we got a lot of all like medical issues that are gonna like push you into dying quicker. So like that's the reason the disease is running rampant throughout Detroit is the poverty, the working class nature of our community. We will have to work to pay bills, whereas like people who work for nonprofits or work for whatever, they can work from home.
Yeah.
We're stuck going out into the world working, and also we got all these like health issues, many of which are related to the liquor stores, many of which are related to the poverty, many of which are related to the pollution that's here. So we got all these comorbidities that are causing us to die and suffer from corona at a high rates.
So I saw you. I saw you out yesterday giving out diapers. Where were you at, and what service was that?
Yeah, so who I really feel for in the crisis is like parents, dog. Like that's the one thing. It's like I feel privileged, lucky, amazed not to have any fucking kids, yo. Like having to deal with a bunch of bored ass kids in a house, locked up for like weeks on end, not in school, trying to find babysitters, trying to work your damn self. Like parents are the motherfucking superheroes through all this shit, like doing it up. So if parents in Detroit or in the Metro Detroit area, but mostly Detroit, you can check out DetroitDiaperBank.com. DetroitDiaperBank.com. So check that out. And like basically the diaper bank is donations from Huggies and a bunch of diaper places, and they're distributing diapers to various locations throughout the city where you can schedule it and pick it up, but you got to go to that website. But yeah, we was just basically helping. They got a ton of donations, so they called for people to come support them. My boy Donovan McKinney, who's a really awesome black organizer with SEIU, he hit me up because we've been distributing water and other mutual aid stuff. So he hit me up and a bunch of us up, and he's like, yo, I need some volunteers out here for distributing diapers. I came today. I continued to volunteer with them the following 2 days. And yeah, I'm driving around delivering diapers yesterday. That was in a U-Haul truck.
So you're not working right now. What do you why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do normally as far as your 9 to 5, man? Because Asa, I think, will probably be big on this and probably Kill too, because I know you work to develop green spaces with the youth right now.
Yeah, I would like to hear about that too. Basically, so the last 4 years before I got this last job, I was like independent. I was doing lectures. So my background is economics. That's why like I got all the stats and numbers, because economic analysis is a big part of like who I am, what I do. I studied economics and political science in college when I met Booze. A big focus of mine was international stuff. The history of the United States and Latin America was a big part of my education and focus. And like I was doing a lot of lectures around Detroit's bankruptcy process, the water shutoffs, art and community organizing and resistance. For the past 4 or 5 years, while I've been independent hustling lectures and shit like that, I've been doing a lot of like little contracting jobs and a lot of volunteering. I graduated from Eastern Michigan in 2012, just as Detroit was going into bankruptcy. I immediately started throwing down with Detroiters Resisting Emergency Management, which was a coalition organization of, we had the police, we had the firemen, we had pensioners, we had all these community organizations at the table to fight against emergency management. We were shutting down streets, doing meetings in front of city council, just really turning the fuck up against emergency management. And for those who don't know, emergency management is basically like financial dictatorship over the city. Like take structural economic issues and make people individually responsible for them. Basically steal people's pensions. So I got involved in that fight. That bankruptcy process took 2 years. It was very fast. The work shifted over to water protection and stopping water shutoffs because, it's a lot complicated. I don't want to bore you with the details, but the water system in Detroit is the biggest in the country. It serves 6 million people in the entire metropolitan area, plus Flint. And essentially, like the governor and his emergency financial manager was trying to privatize the system in order to make it look good. They wanted to see that revenues were coming in, so they started cutting off poor people's water. So I was straight up turning people's water on. We were just straight up like taking a tool and turning people's shit on. But we were also advocating trying to stop those water shutoffs and make water affordable. If you make $26,000 a year and you got a $2,000 water bill, that's damn near 10% of your income. That's crazy. That's like unaffordable. That's unreasonable. There's no way water should be that expensive.
I want to say too, real quick, Antonio, as he said earlier, he's a graffiti artist, and he had 2 big pieces that I believe probably like known globally at this point. One would be the Black Power Fist, which was on the water tower. That was the one that was as you drove into Detroit, right? And
yeah.
Another piece called that said "Decolonize," which was written on.
Probably it was on dozens of buildings and water towers, 2012 to 2014, 15.
You had one that was real prominent as you drove into downtown Detroit. I can't remember where it was though. Exactly.
It was on the CPA building at between Southwest Detroit and Corktown.
Yeah, my man has pieces throughout the city. He has a Malcolm X. He does native pieces. He has pieces throughout the city that really speaks to the community and the culture of the people inside the city itself. And I wanted to say too, man, like you are a man of many damn hats, brother. Like
I know.
some of that shit down, but I'm thoroughly impressed with how you were able to juggle 15 different careers all in the past fucking 10 years, man, because you've been doing it real big. And you kind of just speaking to the way you're going to now as far as the green spaces and how, the evolution of how that kind of came to be. So let me let you go back to that, bro.
So I got arrested in 2015 for painting "Free the Water" on a water tower. If you just hashtag "Free the Water," you'll see it. It was a water tower at Davison and 75, big white one. And then all that is part of like a broader context of like White Duggan kind of riding in and taking out graffiti. He started this graffiti task force. Fucked up story. I'm trying to do a little storytelling on that issue, but graffiti task force is definitely some like broken windows policing sort of stuff, which is like a philosophy that came out of New York. If you fix the broken windows, you fix the underlying policies. So there were so few police allocated throughout the city that by 2008, 10, 11, Detroit was a graffiti mecca, dog. Like it was covered in graffiti. It was crazy, super crazy. And not a good way either. Like it was too much. People were reckless, painting businesses and shit like that. I was an ethical graffiti artist, and most of my graffiti was social justice stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, I barely qualify as a graffiti artist. I'm more of a street artist, probably. Like a lot of graph heads would probably not say I'm a real graph artist. I wasn't like painting my name everywhere. I was painting messages against various issues. When I was arrested in 2015 for painting "Free the Water" tower, they was threatening us with a $70,000 fine, 2 years in jail. A whole bunch of people organized to help us out. We beat our case. That was tight. But like, I really like between 2012 and 2015, I got really tired of social justice shit, activism shit, risking my fucking life and my freedom for issues. And at the same time, there was a couple like really shitty social justice organizers who were like, you know, telling people I work for the FBI, just like on some real dumb shit. Like the identity politics was super out of control.
Oh, shit, you a fan?
Like I was just like, I was done with organizing in 2015. So in 2016, I moved over to organic agriculture. I studied at the Student Organic Farm Training Program up at MSU. Really cool program. Shout them out. Student Organic Farm Training Program. And I did that for a year. I worked on a farm for a year up there. And I came back to Detroit. I helped start a community garden called Southwest Grows. It's kind of basically my house and my neighborhood. I live right next door to where I grew up in Southwest Detroit. Yeah, I mean, I garden and keep bees and do outdoor shit in this area. In 2017 or 18, a bunch of us got together and co-founded this organization called Black to the Land. And it's kind of like a coalition of groups who were interested in doing outdoor shit. It's a lot of single mamas and some babas who are like, you know, really about it. And we basically organize camping trips and outdoor experiences for families. We all support each other with the food and the organizing and the resources and shit like that. So Black to the Land, I helped co-found for sure. Off the strength of that work, I got a job with the National Wildlife Federation, which is a conservation organization. They're a big national organization. They started a program called the Detroit Leadership and Environmental Education Program. And it's basically an after-school program where I take kids outdoors and introduce them to nature, seasonal harvesting, foraging, agriculture, and then environmental issues. So on the backside of everything, this entire time, I've been engaged in environmental issues because in Southwest Detroit, we're dealing with a lot of pollution. So I've always been engaged in environmental issues.
So I'm going to ask everybody, why do you feel like our community, why is Detroit is so connected from the environment? You know what I mean? Like, Michigan has, to me, if you go up to the UP, one of the most beautiful areas you can go to in the world. Why are we so different? It's our natural habitat. Akil?
What's your relationship to nature?
I would say just being able to connect outdoors. Like, I give you an example. I used to love walking on the grass with my bare feet, you know what I mean, when I was young, you know what I mean? I used to love to fucking dig holes outside. I had a relationship with outside where it was like, equally as much as I enjoy to be indoors, I enjoy being outdoors, but just not like outdoors as far as like on the street, but actually in the fucking, what was the natural surrounding of my house at that point in time. And
It was you, a country boy from Arkansas. Put it out here, boy.
Right? And there's something about, like, you know, when you put your bare feet on the grass, it's a feeling that you get that's different than like, you know, your bare feet on your wooden floor inside your house. You know what I mean? And I would say, like, I felt like that relationship over time changed as I got older to where, like, it just didn't seem necessary. And I was curious as to why we feel. Do you guys feel similar, maybe, or do you think that people still have relationships with nature? But I would honestly say that fuck no, not in Detroit, not at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's a concrete jungle for real. You know what I mean?
I think personally, the way that we are nowadays, where kids sit inside more often, that was intended. This was all by intent. Like, they know the power of people being outside, being more in touch with nature, walking barefoot. You know what I'm saying? Being in the sun, especially for melanated people, they understand the power in that. So that, I mean, this is all intent. Like, the advent of the internet or video games becoming so big, being indoors for a kid, like, they have their own fantasy world, bro. Like, you ain't got to leave your room. You ain't got to leave your room to be a superhero. Whereas when we was kids, like, especially, like, as y'all like to point out, I'm the oldest of the group. we sat outside, like we wanted to go outside. The only thing that kept us indoors was Saturday morning cartoons. But as soon as that shit was over, we was outside, bro. And your mama had to find you. You only came home for food and water. Like my parents had to find us, bro. We was gone.
And we
got raised by the hood. The whole hood raised.
Yeah. I won't come home for water because I'm drinking water out the hose, baby. What's up? All right, so real quick, what are your thoughts on this before you get out of here?
I agree with you. I feel like back in the day, you know, we were way more plugged in, but nowadays we totally disconnected. The average person, that is. I know a lot of people personally who may, you know, go put their feet in the soil, spend a lot of time outside still to this day, but the average person, I'm in agreement with you 100%. We got work to do.
And I also got to dip out in a second here, guys. But I just want to have him get a few words in. And I brought that up, and I just asked that because what you're doing right now is basically plugging in kids with nature to some extent, you know what I mean? And you actively take kids out into the woods to have them do different things. What's your thought?
Yeah, I would like to hear real quick from Asa and Akil, like, what relationship did y'all have to the forests, to like state park, the parks around Detroit? Did y'all go camping and shit like that? Like, I mean, there's a lot of nature in Detroit still. Like, even no matter what, I would like to hear what y'all's relationship with that, because I think that's a good touch point.
Oh yeah, when I was growing up, we had the mulberry bushes in the backyard. We had some fruit growing off the trees. You know, we went to the parks, all of that. Yeah, I miss it actually. I need to integrate that back into my lifestyle. I just be so, you know, busy, you know, with work or whatever. I need to get back to it. Thank you for those reminders.
Nah, that was a normal part of my childhood, bro. We had a pear tree in our backyard. So like we got pears all summer, fall, spring. My parents, especially my mom, we was heavy into going to the parks, all the different parks, metro parks. So as a kid, bro, being in the water, being out during the summertime, biking, like I had one of the moms, like, she wanted you out the house. So soon as 9, 10 in the morning, bro, we outside on Saturday mornings. And we didn't come back in the house until 8, 9 o'clock. And that was about
Which was y'all favorite parks? Favorite parks?
Man, nah, I ain't been to a park in a long time.
Rouge, yeah.
Rouge Park was straight.
Yeah,
I stayed close to Rosedale Park. Had like a little mini playground community area thing in there.
Still do.
They had some parks over by Brightmoor.
Yeah, Belle Isle for me. Belle Isle. In the city. Belle Isle, and between Belle Isle and Rouge, in terms of like where the concentration of nature is, Belle Isle and Rouge are the biggest ones, like biggest forest. I mean, I remember feeding the deer on Belle Isle growing up, that big ass slide.
Man. Yep.
Yeah. I remember when the zoo was, when I was really little.
For sure.
You can actually get into the zoo. There's a trail that I found when I was hiking with Booze, walking our dogs, and you could break into the zoo. It's pretty sweet.
Yep.
It's like abandoned now, but it's like crazy.
Yeah, people being there all the time now.
I watched Antonio military crawl through like a hole inside of a gate to get inside the zoo. And I had his dog for like 25, 30 minutes. I could not find his cat for the longest, but it is, Belle Isle is a beautiful place, man. And like over the past 2 to 3 years, I've really come to appreciate it. And just a quick funny story, kind of in connection to this. This past summer, I took a friend's boys fishing, 2 boys, right? These boys are in high school and they graduate this year. And there's 2 major facts that blew my mind, right? So we're in Michigan, the state of lakes, right? Great Lakes. One of the boys had never been to a lake, right? In high school, had never been to a lake. 2, they couldn't remember the last time they left Detroit, right? And like, these are intelligent boys. They're funny as hell. They're wise. And it was just crazy to me that these 2 boys, and I get like the fishing piece, like I didn't get to go fishing. I had actually went fishing with my stepfather's grandmother when I was a kid. the fishing piece I understood, but the fact they had never made it to a lake before was like fucking beyond me though. You know what I mean? And it's peace, brother.
Peace, y'all.
Nice to meet you, Asa.
Peace,
Nice to
God.
see you again, bro. Peace.
But just to say that I only brought it up just to speak to why I think it's so important that you do what you do as far as helping create green spaces and introduce those kids to different activities outdoors, and not just outdoors, but in the forest. And I see you've been boiling down maple syrup for the past 2 months now, a month or so. And I see you have the kids also involved in that as well. Kind of how did that all come about?
Yeah. So I've been also like simultaneously building a lot of relationships with native peoples throughout the Great Lakes areas. And that's where I learned how to tap maple trees from a couple years back. I've been following it, checking it out. I've also been into other types of foraging, like mushroom foraging and herb foraging, some flowers and shit like that. So like it's an extension out of that sort of like work, is this idea that like we should be eating seasonally, we should be like engaged in physical, natural activities throughout the year. And if you like look at like the way the Anishinaabe folks lived, so Anishinaabe people are the indigenous people of the Great Lakes. They're the Potawatomi, the Odawa, and the Ojibwe. And they lived where in the summer they'd be up north farming, catching fish, doing their thing. And the time they'd separate and they'd go into like hunting lodges where they like hunt for meat all winter. And then in the spring, they'd go into these camps that were sugar bush camps, where like the entire community would come together and like tap into maple trees, sugar maple trees, collect the sap, boil it down to sugar. They make maple sugar, not syrup. So for me, like my whole attitude this winter has been like, winter sports are not just for white people. Like I want the exercise. I want to be outside. I want to see the beauty of Michigan in winter. Up north in northern Michigan, they have these ice caves, super gorgeous and beautiful. You go cross-country skiing. You go snowshoeing. And there are places the DNR actually lends out these stuff or rents them very cheaply. But like, yeah, man, like that. They actually in Rouge Park, they actually groom cross-country skiing trails. This is the first year I think they started doing that. Really? So like I started doing all that shit this year. I went snowboarding for the first time, and all this shit had me feeling so good this winter, dog. Like winter is a tough time in Detroit because you shut in the house, almost like Corona. Like it's like you are just locked up in the crib. It's salty, wet, nasty, and like getting into nature in wintertime is powerful and beautiful. It gave me like the physicality coming into spring that I needed to focus on the sugar bush, and that shit is exhausting. Like basically, like we set up for the first 3 days because we had an Ojibwe brother come out and like help us start it up. But like you wait for the season to go to where it's freezing at nighttime and above freezing in the day, so above 32 degrees. And then you drill holes in the maple trees, use metal spiles to tap in. That tap had a rubber hose that went down into a bucket. And then when the weather was nice, those trees was running. And they were putting out like half a gallon a day, or not more than half a gallon a day, like they'd fill up a 5-gallon bucket in a couple days.
So when you taking the kids out there, what are they saying about that type of experience, man? Like for them, like what's the takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, like, so we work with Detroit public school students, and we're also with one charter school, and they're just like happy to chop wood because you got to chop wood to feed the fire to boil it down.
Yeah.
And they're happy to be connected with the seasons. And most of them didn't know how to identify trees, so we walk around identifying which are the sugar maples, and that's also a really powerful experience. Being able to name. So that's a real powerful experience. And then a bunch of them got to connect with my boy Jerry, who came down as an Anishinaabe dude too, which I think is also really cool. Because I think a lot of people think Native people are like gone or dead or some shit like that. So they really enjoyed that too. So yeah, I mean, they're just happy, thankful to be happy to be outside. Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, a lot of it's really about healing, you know, like it's hard growing up in the city and getting an opportunity to get out in nature, like, and connect and put your feet in the soil and smell the earth. And it's definitely like healing work, and it's reconnecting work, because that's who we are for millions of years, that we come from indigenous peoples in Africa and all over the world. And we were connected with the seasons, connected with nature. But it's this time under Christianity and colonialism that we've been, you know, having our seasons disconnected. I mean, Christianity very much so, like, takes seasonal shit. Like, the winter solstice is Christmas, you know what I'm saying? Like, Easter is like the equinox, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these holidays that are absorbed in Christianity, they basically had all these quote-unquote pagan holidays, which were basically people who ritualized the connection with nature. And they took that and made it into Christianity to absorb it and, like, to take, you know, indigenous pagan people and put them under Christianity. The council and control of Latin-ass Rome.
I'm listening. So we got to get. Dave just gave us to wrap it up, Q. But real quick, just in correlation to that, I'm listening to a book called The Cooking Gene by Michael Twitty. Right, excellent fucking book. Where he basically reconnects his cultural ancestry to cooking. You know what I mean? So he goes back to Ghana. He goes back to all these different places, and a large part of what he speaks to inside of that book is just like learning the actual origin of where the food is and what the food comes from. And the different terminology, and it reconnects him to his heritage by learning and by reconnecting to his ancestry, but the food itself and the actual plants themselves. And it's kind of re-inspiring me to look at how I cook and my connection to my food and the land that I live on, which is something that I think you speak on a lot. So as Dave gives us to wrap it up, Q, man, I wanted to thank you. First and foremost, with you on. I knew this was gonna be like very informative. Talking a lot of different shit. And I know you don't know this, Antonio, but episode 10 for us was a really big deal. Just because most podcasts don't make it to 10 episodes, right? So for us, we look forward to this particular day, because if we did, we knew that we'd be over a big hurdle. We're hoping to have many more episodes in the future. Possibly with you on. You talk a lot though. We're gonna have to have you talk half as much next time. And we're gonna have a structured show. But
you get a wrap it up button.
You get the wrap it up button and everything, but everything you spoke to, man, I think is just interesting topics, man. And it's good to get a foundation of just who you are, because you are somebody who I feel is a leader inside the community, inside of Detroit, and somebody who we want on a team, period, brother. So, you know I love you. I've always loved you, man, since day one.
I love you too, man.
Thanks for having you on. Akil, you got to
appreciate you, my dog. No, man. No, bro. I appreciate Antonio, bro. I appreciate you, bro.
Hell yeah.
For sure. For everything, not for the podcast, bro. I follow you outside of the podcast. We need social activists like you that fight for us, bro. Like,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So much love, bro.
Likewise. Appreciate y'all.
Yes.
Much love to the CMA. If anybody y'all listening to this, to the CMA crew back from Easton. Me and Antonio are the real ones. Stay in Detroit. But and thank you, Dave, for staying in the wings. I know you back there hitting. I know you got somebody else you got to get ready for, bro. So we appreciate your time as always, man.
Oh, this is great, dude. I love these chats.
Thank you, man. Oh, yeah. And enjoy that bar, bro. But we'll see you guys soon. And thanks for tuning in to the How About Guys. Peace.
All right, peace, y'all.
See you guys.
Peace.